Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucore Automotive. Today we're going to do some more AMC stuff in the 1979 AMC AMX. As you may have noticed from the power tour, we ended up having to come up with a solution for this hole up here on the roof. And what we did was we made a freedom roof out of a can of Budweiser, or a case of Budweiser cans. And that freedom roof is back yonder. We did a really good job. Made it from Hoover, Alabama, all the way down to Pensacola, Florida. From Pensacola, Florida to Hoover, Alabama. From Hoover, Alabama, back to Atlanta, Georgia. From Atlanta, Georgia to Columbus. Columbus to Cincinnati. Cincinnati back to Columbus. Columbus all around the city a bunch of times. And then back here. However, that Budweiser box has had enough miles. It's about 1,600 miles on that Budweiser case. So it's time to call it quits with that. But the good news is I happen to have somebody in my back pocket, Jeff at Kennedy Automotive, who happens to have everything I could possibly need in the AMC world. And he said that he has new old stock glass and the latching mechanisms to go in this roof hole. So I'm going to get the rest of this freedom roof removed off the top of this car, and we're going to go over see Jeff Kennedy and see if we can get this thing fixed once and for all, because right now it's been raining in this car for like a year. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Now, for those of you who are concerned about my freedom roof, don't worry, it's not going to get thrown away. That Budweiser box has done an incredible amount of work. It's been a wonderful, trustworthy friend. It kept the rain and the sun off of me for a very long time, much further than I figured it ever possibly could. So I'm going to put that sucker in a frame and put it on the wall next to my long haul plaque from 2022. Because you got to maintain those memories, man. And that box has definitely earned its place on the wall. All right, let's go see Jeff, shall we? Fire this thing up and go for a drive. Fueled up at our daily stop at Costco here. Really appreciate those guys putting a fuel station right around the corner from the shop. Something I gotta say about Kennedy American and Jeff. This is our very first experience in the true real AMC world. We've done a whole bunch of stuff with Jeeps, but we had never really gotten involved in the AMC cars at all. And when I bought this car, I guess it was 3 years ago or so, and I first put it on YouTube, we had a whole bunch of people that were saying, hey, you need to get in touch with Jeff, you need to get in touch with Jeff. Jeff Kennedy, Kennedy American, blah, 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 blah. I had no idea who Jeff Kennedy was. I had no idea who Kennedy American was. And it turns out that kind of the #1 guy that you want to know about AMCs and AMC parts is like 35 minutes from our shop, which is incredible. To be honest, I couldn't be happier with it. And it's a nice little shot from Plain City, where we are on the northwest corner of Columbus, down to West Jefferson, where Jeff is. So, yeah. Jeff, when you see this, I just wanted to let you know, sir, I really appreciate you being where you are and being kind of the know-it-all when it comes to AMC stuff. And if you don't know the answer, you can get me the guy that has all the answers. So, I'm on my way, Jeff. God, I love this car. I love this car. These cars are really made for backcountry road driving. It's not geared for real high end, but second gear, third gear moves out really well. If you don't know this car, if you're new to the channel, 1979 AMC Spirit AMX. It is a 304 AMC V8 that's under the hood. It is the original 1979 AMC 304 that's under the hood, but it has been reworked. It's a 60 over build. It's about 9:1 compression. Still has factory cast iron heads on it. Still has factory exhaust manifolds on it. Those factory exhaust manifolds are going away here very shortly, probably before you even see this video, because we're going to be going to a set of long tube headers on it to allow this thing to breathe a little bit more. And then we're going to head back to the dyno and see just exactly what we can pick up between the manifolds and the header exhaust. At current, it makes 170 horsepower at the tires, which is actually pretty solid given this car made 125 horsepower at the crank when it was brand new. So we're not quite double the horsepower we were when we were brand new, but pretty dang close. But it's a blast to drive, man. I absolutely love this car. And realistically, I actually really love having an open roof as well, except for when it rains, which is why you may see that I have towels on my seats, because it's rained for the last 2 straight days, so seats are a little moist. About you, but when you're driving something like this, especially something that's this 70s, it's very important to have the right soundtrack. For me, Bachman Turner Overdrive, some Let It Ride, yeah. Let it ride. Beautiful day to drive in the country. Well, welcome to Kennedy American. Because there are no more AMC dealerships anymore, there are a few people that are keeping the brand alive and keeping Parts Supply alive. One of those major players being Kennedy American. And they do their damnedest to have just about everything you possibly could need, and a bunch of things you probably don't need for your AMC vehicle. They've also got some pretty cool rides themselves. So, let's take a look and see what these folks have got for us. See if it fits in the hole, see if it latches down. I really have a need to own one of these things. Having been around the AMC people, like, the more and more and more and more, I really want to have a Gremlin. Especially a drag car Gremlin. They don't make any sense at all, but they're super cool. Super cool. Alright, so, what do we got here?
Got a new old stock sunroof kit.
Okay.
Sunroof with the latches in the bag. Let's
wow.
See if it's gonna fit. Let's go this way, right?
No, actually the other way around.
It's the other way.
Because it was that left front latch that came apart in my hand, and then it folded back on itself and blew up on my roof.
Man, it looks the exact same. I think we might have a match.
I think we are in luck.
Let's pop the old one out of there and let's see what this one looks like.
So this is never been used.
Yeah, it came out of a dealer they bought out in January. It's been sitting on their shelf for however many decades.
40 years?
Long time. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Cool. Well, let's get her out and see what happens. So this is actually the entire framing, the seal, everything. So in order to do this, you actually have to peel the weather stripping back, and upside underneath here, underneath the, you know, what would I guess be considered a headliner, which in my car is more of a mold holder. There's bolts right here, and there's bolts right here, and there's bolts right here, and there's bolts right here. There's a whole bunch of them every, like, you know, a couple inches that hold this thing in there. So I'm gonna try to get this framing out real quick. See if we can get ourselves a roof. Well, true old car fashion. These are the correct pieces, and they were center all the way over on the driver's side. On the passenger side, as I ripped the headliner out to be able to get to these things, let me see if I can get you a good view of what I'm working on here. Can you see that guy right there? Does that look to you like a head of a bolt? Somebody ran a screw in there and has destroyed that sucker. So that's gonna be interesting. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, so went ahead and just pretty much removed the headliner out of this thing. And you can start to see exactly how bad some of this rust problem is here. Like this is all, that's just full of rust. That's just full of rust. It's all falling apart here. This car's had a good life. It's been fun. It's definitely not in great shape, but it's still good times. It's not going to come back to life as a beautiful resto mod. It's not going to have another life as a $80,000, $10,000 car. It's not what it's meant for. It's not what it's going to be. We're going to just keep driving this thing and having fun with it as long as we possibly can. And we're going to make the other two nicer cars. This one is not going to have that fate. I have rust everywhere. This is a problem. This guy here, that's a problem. I've got all the other ones out, and these actually do have these little guys here that kind of wedge up in here, and then the bolt goes through this to wedge this in and goes into the actual framing itself, so it holds in with the tension of that. I've got all the other ones removed, other than this one here, which is a Phillips head screw that somebody has completely destroyed. So, the right way, the wrong way, and the way we're going to get this done. It's never anything easy, is it? It's never anything easy. Nope. Time to upgrade the tools. Get a little more medieval. There are things you do that you don't really want to do, but you got to do. This is one of those things. So, let's see if we can get that off. Got my safety glasses. How about them apples? Alright, so I gotta get these pieces that I've got the heads broken off of out. You got a flathead screwdriver I can borrow?
Sure do.
Yeah! How about them apples, huh? Some of these just broke off, but you got little screws that go in there. And somebody just, mongoed one in here. Shove that one in. It's about twice the size it's supposed to be, but whatever. If it fits, it ships, right? All right, so there we are. Wonder if I should, is there a gasket that goes under this thing, or if you just caulk this? Looks like it's got a gasket. Yeah, let's see if we can gasket this. By the way, don't show up at Jeff's place expecting to work on your car in his driveway. That's not what he does here. This is for the YouTubes. This is not what he does here. I feel like I need to probably clean this up a bit more and dress this before I lay a gasket down on this. I want to kind of wire wheel this a little bit, clean that up. But we can at least check to make sure that the framing piece sits down in this hole, and then I'll just drive this back to the shop and we'll get this thing fully installed. But got to make sure that it fits first and that this is a viable solution. Otherwise, I'll have to go buy another case of beer. Well, I think we're going to be in business here, but we may need a seal to go between that framing and the roof. The neat thing here is Mr. Jeff has all the books. Remember these? Books with pages? Look at that. Breakdown of the whole thing. All the individual part numbers you're going to need. Blah, 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 blah. How about them apples? Alright, so the answer is this. I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to clean up this roof piece where this seals to, and paint it, and then I'm going to be able to lay an RTV seal on it. I got to pull the seal off the bottom of it. This piece comes with new spacer pieces and new bolts. So it is the same size bolt that I can put on here, but I want to dress this as good as I possibly can, to seal this as well as I possibly can, so that I don't get rained on ever again in this car. But I think this is going to get me where I need to be. I just can't install it here because I got to do a little bit more work. So we're going to go back to the shop and wrap this thing up, get our glass reinstalled, then I can have a fully functional car instead of a roadster. A rusty roadster. I'm disgusting. Be glad that you can't smell me right now or feel how gross and gritty I am. I have rust everywhere. Oh, why do we do this? So here's the other gem that is of knowing Jeff, Kennedy American. He's got a stash. So, fellow YouTuber Kevin of Junkyard Digs, you may have seen, picked up an AMC Concorde, and he did the power tour on that this year. And we've got a couple of things that he and I have been talking about, and since I was out here with Jeff working on my stuff, I figured I would reach out to him about a possible solution on something with the Concorde. Is that it in there?
That's it, and unfortunately this tree fell.
Huh.
So it's going to be very difficult to get to it to see if there's pedals still in it.
Huh. I need to get in that car.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good.
What's your snake situation out here? Anything?
I haven't never seen any snakes.
Okay.
A lot of groundhogs.
I'm not worried about a groundhog biting me. I could probably get my way back in there.
I was trying to see if I can climb up and see if there's pedals from here.
Yeah.
Almost see in the car.
I probably could climb. I mean, you're going to have to climb up on this thing.
Yep. This just happened about a month ago, this tree. And it's a big one. The shifter's still in it.
Okay.
I don't see any pedals though.
You want to use the camera and see if you can zoom in?
That's too technical for me. Pedals are not there.
No pedals.
No pedals.
But we have a shifter.
We have the the transmission's still in the car.
Okay.
And the bell housing.
So transmission's in it, bell housing's in it.
But that car had a lot of miles on it, so.
But we need the pedal box I really don't care about mileage.
Right. Now I do have maybe one out of a American, which I don't know if the American one. I know a guy we'll call. We got a guy we can call.
Okay. As is the case with a lot of this stuff, you kind of end up having organ donors to keep others alive.
Yep.
So instead of it dying and just being put in the ground, it's got some bones, it's got some organs, it's got some pieces that you can put onto another one to keep it living and keep it moving down the road. This is kind of how it's done, to be honest with you. And a lot of this stuff, especially with the AMC stuff, is not repopped. This is not remanufactured. There's not a whole lot of nutballs that are out there rebuilding AMC stuff. So most of the time you need to know somebody like Jeff, or you need to know Jeff to be able to find your parts for him. Kennedy American, by the way, if you haven't figured that out. Good place to find cool AMC stuff. So we got a little bit more homework to do. We'll do that off camera because you guys aren't going to be too privy to exactly what we're doing here. I'll be right back with you. Well, big thank you to Jeff of Kennedy American out here in West Jefferson, Ohio. If you guys need any AMC stuff, this is definitely the guy you want to get in touch with. I unfortunately made my car worse today by removing the framing and removing about half the headliner that was destroyed. My car makes even more noises now because now the headliner is whacking against the roof, which is, you know, fun. All right, back to the shop. You probably can't see this, but yeah, that's all rust. This is part of the experience. All right, back to the shop. Let's get this part cleaned up, get this painted and resealed, get this this new piece in here. God, I'm filthy. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but I definitely removed a lot of the structural rigidity of the roof. It's not so bad at like 65, 70, but at like 45, it's pretty bad. Makes a lot of noises. And over any kind of a bump. Anyway, back to the shop. Let's get this done. Back in the shop. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use a little flapper wheel and take this rust scaling off here just to give it as good a surface as we possibly can. Should be a quick and dirty little thing. Got my extension cord. I'm going to do this the proper way. We're going to get it done. Yep. Piece of cake. So let's just lay a little RTV bead down on there. We'll lay this new framing in. Yeah, then all I gotta do is put the 10 bolts through it. Brand new tube of RTV. Like many of you, this stuff tends to walk off. Let's get this put in. Let's drop this framing in. Yeah, this is gonna work. All right, how about them apples? Nice RTV bead all the way around the top. Set the framing in, and then basically have to let this stuff cure. Not going to make that mistake again. If you don't let this cure long enough, it's going to pull things right out the top, because this is a negative pressure environment. And ask me how I know. Set the framing in here and get this moving forward. I think it's gonna work. It's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. Now, in addition to being able to put that in there, I need to use the braces that essentially put the tension between the roof panel and the framing itself, which is just this little formed piece of plastic with a bolt through it, and that goes into each of those little bolt holes that I had to grind off at the beginning of this. And that should draw that roof panel up flush against that, leave tension on there so that things can set up properly. And then we're gonna let this thing sit once I get all those things in. This is the not fun part about this job, is putting all those back in, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Keep working, Austin, keep working. By the way, it's unbelievably humid, and it actually started to rain outside. Welcome to summer in Ohio. This is why I need to put a roof back in this car. Bing, bang, boom. So these guys go up here like so, and go into these holes, and that actually applies the tension up against the roof panel to get that seated in there properly. So I'll be back in a few minutes. That's not a particularly fun job, but no big deal. I think there's like 12 of those things that go all the way around. Pretty simple process, to be honest with you. You just got to get your bolt hole lined up and then, you know, walk your way around it. So what it does is it cinches up the roof to the bracket, so that's all nice and solid again. Now we have our structural rigidity back. Now I do have a bunch of RTV I have to let set, but I can set the glass in this thing. There's also a seal right here that goes along the inside of this. Unfortunately, I don't have a headliner in this car, so it is what it is. I'll put the seal back in it, but for the most part, that's how it goes. I'm gonna let this set, put the glass back in it. We'll discuss and end this video. There we go, buddy. Well, I'll take it. Quite a few little pieces to work with, but all in all, not a bad install. Hopefully it seals. It should seal. It's got a nice little bead of RTV underneath this. The new glass is in. It does seal completely differently. That's kind of the headache right now with these cars, is all of these different pieces, though all three of them had sunroofs in them, they're all three latched differently. So we couldn't just get a piece of glass and put it inside of this frame. We had to get a brand new matching glass and frame to be able to get this done. In the grand scheme of things, it was a bit more work and a bit more money than I really hoped to spend, but unfortunately that's really your only option. Now fortunately for me, Jeff over at Kennedy American, those guys are awesome, and they happen to be able to find just about everything you need for AMCs. In my case, they got me a new piece of glass and a new framing. So they had the carrying case for the glass, they had all the pieces for it, the whole 9 yards. It's not a brand new piece. It's certainly been installed at some point in time previously, but it's a nice piece and it fixes my problem. So there you go. We have completed a thing. Now this car can actually go outside and not become a swimming pool when it sits there, which is nice. Now I am going to leave this thing inside for the day and let it cure overnight so that tomorrow I can get this thing outside and be able to make sure that I can drive it at speed and that glass doesn't come out. Ooh, man. I don't even think about that. But Next thing you're going to see is going to be exhaust work, because this car has to be on the dyno in 2 days. And in order to be on the dyno, it needs to have headers on it. Those headers are sitting right here that have been wrapped over a DEI. You hopefully saw that video where Mike and the gang up there did a header wrap video for me. So we're gonna get the factory exhaust manifolds pulled off this thing, get my long tube headers put on it, X-pipe, fab up a bit of exhaust work, some mufflers on this sucker, and get it over on the dyno and see exactly how much horsepower we pick up on this little 304. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Definitely not our normal kind of work. We don't technically do this, but it's AMC AMX stuff, so I had to share it. Anyway, thanks for being here. Like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this process. I certainly am. I'm disgusting again, but that's wrenching, man. See you on the next one. Get back to work in the morning. Take care.